Elephants are dying, birds are flying away, dogs are cowering. It's not doomsday, it's just an earthquake. And they knew it was coming. They knew it before we humans did, that is. But how? How can animals sense earthquakes before we do? Can they smell them, feel them in their bones? With their super senses, animals can detect danger long before we humans can. Some can even predict volcanic eruptions and tsunamis. So today let's find out what animals know that we don't. Imagine it. You're hanging out in your backyard when suddenly your dog drops to the ground, ears flattened against his head, tail tucked between his legs. Your cat, who normally loves to strut around the neighborhood, has suddenly disappeared. Your chickens, who normally peck around their yard all day, have huddled together in a corner of their coop. At first, you think maybe you've upset them somehow, or perhaps there's a predator nearby. But no, none of these things are true, and then you feel it. The ground beneath your feet rumbles and rolls like a roller coaster ride. You survived an earthquake, and if you hadn't been outside, well, you might have been seriously injured or worse. When disasters like earthquakes strike, they don't discriminate. Whether you're a grizzly bear, a Galapagos tortoise, a penguin, or a person, you're in peril if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But certain animals seem to know when disaster will strike and where to be to stay safe. But how? Well, scientists are still working on figuring that out. However, it turns out that many animals may be able to sense changes in the Earth's magnetic field before seismic waves start shaking the ground. This is because during an earthquake, the electrical charges within the Earth's crust get rearranged. Since many animals navigate using the Earth's magnetic field, they may be able to sense these changes and use them to predict earthquakes. But this isn't the only way that animals may be able to sense an earthquake coming. Some animals can actually feel vibrations in the ground. Dogs, for example, can hear sounds too high in pitch for us to detect. And some animals, like elephants, have such sensitive hearing that they can pick up extremely low-frequency sounds that travel through the ground. Elephants can hear the infrasound waves created by tectonic plates shifting, and studies have shown that elephants will trumpet and pace when they hear these sounds, which may be their way of communicating that an earthquake is coming. Now, it's important to point out that while animals can sense that something is amiss, they can't tell us exactly what kind of natural disaster is on its way. All animals can do is react based on their instincts. Take, for instance, the Chinese giant salamander. Salamanders need moist skin to survive. So if they sense the ground rumbling or the air growing stale, they escape to water. In the mountains of China, the salamander's reaction to earthquakes has actually saved their species since they escape to water, and this protects them from landslides that may wipe out salamanders on dry land. Unfortunately, they can't do much to protect themselves from people. Because of habitat loss and overhunting, the Chinese giant salamander is now considered critically endangered. So sensing an earthquake is a great survival mechanism, but it doesn't always help animals stay safe. While we're on the topic of salamanders, though, it's worth pointing out that they're not the only animals that seem to know that something's about to go down. When Mount Vesuvius erupted and wiped out the Roman city of Pompeii in 79 AD, virtually every living thing in the area was vaporized, except for 2 small groups of mice and a few stray birds. And when Krakatoa blew its top in Indonesia in 1883, a group of monkeys escaped into the trees before the tsunami arrived. In both cases, the animals escaped death by heeding an instinct that told them to run for the hills, or in the monkeys' case, the trees. But if it's not the ground rumbling or the air growing stale that gives them the heads up, could it be something else? Perhaps animals can sense an impending disaster through their super senses. After all, animals see, hear, smell, taste, and touch the world differently than we do. Animals can hear a wider range of sounds than people. For example, dogs can hear sounds 4 times higher in pitch than what we can detect and twice as low. They also have an incredible sense of smell, so when the air grows stale and the ground begins to rumble, they can likely smell gases released from the Earth's crust and hear sounds we can't. These signs, combined with vibrations they feel through their pores, can alert them to an oncoming disaster. Take, for example, A group of dogs in Mexico City in 1985. Before the city's devastating earthquake, people reported seeing strange behavior in local dogs. When the earthquake struck, the dogs were unharmed and uncaged, while many of the homes and buildings in the area collapsed, killing thousands of people. People noticed similar behavior in dogs before the 1995 Kobe, Japan earthquake as well. Some dogs were so freaked out they refused to leave their owners' sides. That day, the dogs sensed danger in the air and acted accordingly. And dogs aren't the only animals that seem to know something we don't. A scientist named Bill McGuire studied reports of unusual animal behavior before major earthquakes in California, Japan, China, and Italy. He found that rats, horses, rabbits, cats, dogs, and even monkeys exhibited unusual behavior like pacing and hysteria before earthquakes struck. Scientists have also observed changes in the behavior of wildlife before earthquakes. Fish leave the water, birds fly away, and deer leave their territory. They sense danger through stimuli we can't detect. Like when the Earth's magnetic field changes, they may be able to sense it. In fact, researchers in China tracked a group of monkeys before an earthquake and noticed that 2 hours before the quake, the monkeys fled their natural habitat and hid in caves. There's even video footage of farm animals fleeing their enclosures before an earthquake hits Turkey. Now, to be fair, farmers in the region had become accustomed to the regular tremors in the area, so it's possible that the animals were acting on learned behavior. On the other hand, the animals might have been sensing something we aren't. Scientists are still trying to piece together why animals can sense earthquakes before we do. It's possible that they use a combination of all their senses to figure it out. One recent study suggests that electric fish, like the African weakly electric fish, can sense weak electrical signals emitted from the ground before an earthquake. The fish hide in the mud at the bottom of the river until the worst is over. While animals may not be able to tell us exactly what is happening, they can show us the effects of an earthquake before it happens. For example, strangely shaped bumps and bulges form in the ground before an earthquake strikes. In some areas, the ground will heave up and crack. Lakes and reservoirs may drain, and springs may appear where there were none before. By monitoring the land for these signs, scientists can determine where an earthquake may strike. They can also measure radon gas levels in the soil. During an earthquake, pockets of radon gas are released into the soil. So high levels of radon gas in the soil could indicate that an earthquake is coming. It's important to note that no single sign indicates that an earthquake is definitely going to happen. However, if multiple signs occur in the same area, scientists can warn the public that there's an increased risk of an earthquake. And while we might not be able to sense earthquakes coming the way animals do, we can monitor the Earth's rumble with increasingly sensitive instruments. Recording the strength and timing of small earthquakes helps scientists build a picture of what's happening below the surface. With enough data, they can map fault lines and predict where big earthquakes are most likely to occur. Not only does this technology help keep people safe, but it also helps protect cultural treasures. In 2010, scientists used instruments called strong-motion seismographs to monitor the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The devices recorded vibrations from passing cars, trains, and even planes. That way, engineers could distinguish the sounds of daily life from the rumblings of an earthquake. With this knowledge, they can protect iconic structures like the Leaning Tower of Pisa and ensure they stay standing for centuries to come. There's still a lot we don't know about earthquakes, but thanks to the clues animals give us, we're getting better and better at predicting when and where they'll occur. It might just depend on whether you ask a human or a chicken. So what do you think? Did we miss any amazing animal earthquake stories? If so, leave them in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fun science stories.